Robert Stanley. And Robert M. Stanley has traveled to nearly 60 countries during his lifelong pursuit of modern and ancient mysteries. Over the past 30 years, Robert's quest for unique ideas and information has led him to research and write about many controversial topics. His ongoing investigations have been featured on television, radio, print, and the internet. Born in 1959, Robert is a native of Los Angeles, California. He grew up in Malibu and in 2008 moved to the southern New England with his wife, son, and dog. And in 2015, he relocated to his family to Asia. He enjoys surfing, hiking, motorcycles, tennis, photography, and composing music. Formerly a corporate journalist for Honda Research and Development in Torrance, California, Robert is the editor of UNICUS Magazine, and he's also the author of Close Encounters on Capitol Hill and Covert Encounters in Washington, D.C. He is the webmaster of UNICUSmagazine.com, and you have to check that out if you haven't already. He is also the host of UNICUS Radio Hour, and he is the producer of the UNICUS Radio Network. He's also served as a correspondent for America's Morning News and America's Radio News Network. And his website, once again, is unicusmagazine.com. So please welcome Robert to the show this evening. Good evening, Robert.
Hi, Solaris. Nice to be back with you.
Oh, it's great to have you on tonight, and I'm sure you're doing well.
Yeah, everything is pretty good in my corner of the cosmos.
All right. Well, that's good. That's a nice way to look at it, isn't it? The corner of the cosmos. Yeah.
Yep.
We're kind of talking off air there about, how this world is so in flux and inside out and upside down with a lot of madness here. So tell everybody what you've been involved in. I know you're just cranking out articles and doing so many things. What have you been working on lately?
Not so much the articles, although I do have some really good ones for free at unicusmagazine.com. You just click on the articles button and you can see that. That is evolving. I am going to modify it considerably next year. But I've been busy producing new music, and there's a music page up on my website now, which is really cool because they're actually music videos, which is something I've wanted to do for years, and I guess I just procrastinating. But it's finally starting to manifest, and I'm so happy with that. It's just, it's fun, but it's also educational or insightful or hopefully enlightening for some people to hear this. These songs, there's obviously an important message in each one of them. It goes from angelic to demonic. The latest one is No Place to Hide, and it is about people's inner demons, much to my surprise. I never know where I'm going with this stuff, honestly. I do have a muse. I don't know her name. We're just going to call her Miss Muse. The next song, oh my God, is is called We Are the Archons.
Wow.
And it is disturbing. It is disturbing. It is highly demonic. I have to put a warning label on there for people that are, have heart conditions because this is so spooky, Solaris. Even though I'm producing it, I guess you'd have to say that I'm channeling this from some other dimension because honestly, this is not my preference, but I feel like the world needs to hear and see the vibratory rate of these demonic entities, like full force. It's time.
Did you create this already or no? Is this one out?
It's done. It's done, but I'm like, there's some final touches. I'm adding some violin. It's like I had to create multiple. It's okay. Here's the thing. They're literally saying to humanity, we are the archons. Bow your heads and worship us. Give your energy to us. Now, this is an honest and true statement. Okay, now they would never say that. I'm saying that for them. Right? And I am literally showing their faces and giving them a vibratory signature, which is incredibly disturbing because they're parasites. And the reason I'm doing this is to further and finally expose them once and for all. Okay, based on the work that I've been doing has been actually, I think, very helpful in the last 5 years. Once I became aware of what these things are and what their agenda is, and how we can disengage, right? So, but again, part of this work has been helping people to identify the problem, this parasite, these predators among us, these psychopathic predators, and that's really all it is about. But as I said, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I do have some music that is angelic, literally. One song that is my version of Ave Maria the lyrics were given to me in 2007 December around Christmas. I am not religious, and I'm not Catholic. However, I was listening to Ave Maria one day and I started to hear this message coming through, and it just moved me to tears, not because I was sad, but because I was overwhelmed by the incredible touching emotion behind this thing. And I'll just summarize it this way. They said the angelic hosts, actually, they love us. What did they say? Our love for you is never ending.
Mm.
And it was so it was like, this wasn't just words, this was a feeling that came with the words.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm struggling to write these lyrics, and there's literally tears all over the page as I'm writing this, just because part of me didn't feel worthy. I mean, it's like a flawed human being in this crazy, screwed up world, and here they're telling me that our love for you is never ending. Mm-hmm. From that level, it's like, wow, okay. In a way, it felt like being touched by not just an angel, but all the angels that are still divine and have not fallen.
Mm-hmm.
It was
That's
amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been working on.
Nice.
I also feel, Solaris, that most everybody's surfing YouTube right now,
Mm-hmm.
putting up, some of it's fantastic, some of it is garbage, but I find that even my articles lend themselves really well to like mini documentaries.
Nice.
So now that I know how to do it, it really wasn't that hard. I guess I was a little intimidated to learn a new software, but since I've done so many other software programs, it wasn't that difficult. And now I'm just like, wow, okay, how am I going to find the time to make all the stuff I'd like to produce in video? We'll see what happens next year, but
I'd love to see that, because you know what, I was thinking about that today. That's very interesting you bring it up, because I was thinking about that, how cool it would be to have documentaries pertaining to your archives. So wow.
Oh yeah. Well, especially that thing, especially things that are graphic, like specifically what happened with Google, the digital deception that they were pulling with their maps, and how that led me from the Pacific Ocean to the surface of Mars to the moon. And then all this revelations about Google actually being just an extension of the Pentagon and all this. Anyway, so it would make a very good, like 20, 30-minute documentary, because there's so many graphic visuals that go with it, and good information. I'm not a fan of people doing robotic voiceovers, but then again, I'm not really so happy with people just sitting in their living room. I think it looks a little cheap if you're just sitting there in your living room going, let me show you something here that I found. It's like,
right.
It's so amateurish, and I don't want to do that. I'd like to, try to put out a product that looks semi-professional. And anyway, what's I gonna say? Oh, so this year I've been pushing really hard with that one particular article. It started off thanks to Wes Penray. We've been corresponding a lot, and he sent me. Well, he asked me to help him with his current book is about artificial intelligence and how that's going to change humanity, not for the better. Mm-hmm. And so people can read that. They can link to it for free on through my article section at unicusmagazine.com. Click on it says Technoside. And I'm updating that on a frequent basis. In fact, I just did it yesterday. And it's amazing, because this is not just a page or an article. It is a link to over 400 mainstream news articles about AI and robotics and how this stuff is emerging so rapidly. I don't recommend that anybody waste their time reading 400 articles, but if they just look at the headlines, it may take you 10 minutes, but if you just look at the headlines, it will blow your mind.
Right. Yeah. Well, you don't have to tell me about that. I know technology very intimately. But yeah, you're right. And it's important that people pay attention to that, because my interpolation of all the information that I've been able to have access to is literally about its weaponization. It's always been about weaponization and control, opposed to enhancement and really helping us on a spiritual passage. So yeah. But yeah, I encourage people to do that. And getting back to your music just real quickly here, I have to say I did listen to some of your music videos, and I think they're awesome. And another thing is, I really like your voice. I didn't know you could sing. So that's interesting,
Well, yeah, what's funny is like, okay, so bringing out singing, like, all right, finding a voice that sounded angelic, creating that was really difficult. And of course, I go through a lot of different versions before I come to something that I feel is accurate. But I also don't like to just do the same old thing. So it's kind of interesting to see the range of like audible character or voices that I can create, especially with the, like I said, from angelic to demonic. Some of it is just the love songs are pretty. I do enjoy those, and some of those are incredibly heartfelt, like Soulmates, that I wrote for my wife as a birthday gift. I mean, because like,
Nice.
yeah, well, she's a bit jealous. I was like, why are you writing all these love songs about other people? Can't you write one for me? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's not like I'm thinking about it, but okay. So, yeah, that I thought was very touching, and all the photography on Soulmates, all those still photos that's stuff I took in New England, and
Hmm.
I love taking pictures. I am getting more proficient at it. I just acquired a new Nikon D500,
Nice.
which is a really incredible piece of technology, and still learning how to use that better. But I guess the main thing is composition, like any other artist
Hmm.
or form of art. But I try and the reason I like photography so much is it allows me to show people my view of what the world is, and I see still, despite all the crap that's going on, I still see the beauty
Hmm.
here, right? The divinity that's here, and so that's what I try and focus on when I'm not, busy doing work. I do really need to. I've been very distracted lately. I mean, this is kind of a record month. This is the seventh interview that I've given out this year. Excuse me, in this month. Which
Wow.
and I've
Busy.
been doing 5, 6, 7 a month now. It's like so I need to kind of cut back on that and finish up my next book, which is the Malibu Chronicles. Essentially, it's how I met Lucifer or Enki in Malibu and all the paranormal history of that town that
Hmm.
most people have no idea exists. In fact, when I started the investigation, it's weird, really strange. I'm 6,000 miles away. I'm sitting here on the opposite side of the Pacific Ocean, and I'm like researching my hometown as though I'd never been there before. And boy,
Hmm.
some of the stuff that I've discovered is just shocking. I mean, to the core of my being, I was like, wow. My intuition was right. Obviously, I'm being guided to do this.
Hmm.
And once again, I also feel a little bit hesitant to be the messenger.
Hmm.
This because this again is like showing, oh God, this is a problem. But I do feel that it's important that people know that look, if you're going to go vacation or live in Malibu, you're risking your life.
Hmm.
Literally, you're risking your life because it's a war zone. It is infested with these demonic entities. The native people knew that. And I don't know if there's a portal there. I think there is. I think there's a portal not only inside the earth or to other dimensions inside the earth, but I believe, well, for sure, we know there's I've seen it, and it was again recorded on video this year, in July 3rd of this year. There are UFOs popping in and out of there all the time. Well,
Hmm.
frequently. Okay. I mean, I've seen it, but now other people are proving it with their video. So it's ongoing. I believe it's ancient. That's where I found ancient ruins up in the mountains there after being confronted by Lucifer and Key. I sorry to keep giving out both names, but I mean, he has so many names, but people, this is another thing that really, it's shocked a lot of people. When I say Enki is Lucifer, that's not a secret, but it has been, he doesn't want that to be widely publicized,
Hmm.
but it's a fact. Okay. That is a fact. And unfortunately, he used Zachariah Sitchin as a public relations person for many years. It's worked out well, but I'm here to tell you that's over.
Hmm.
That is all over. In fact, one of the things I found out recently is Sitchin was a
Hmm.
classmate. He was a classmate of George Soros
Oh,
at the London
that's all I need
London
to know.
well,
Go
in
ahead.
London, at the London, I think it's called the London Institute of Economics,
Hmm.
and which is run by the Rothschild family. So Soros and Sitchin both work for the Rothschild dynasty, which is an extension of Enki or Lucifer's empire.
Very interesting.
Yes, it is. So, but see, here's the thing: everything is coming out now. Everything, and that's why these entities on the dark side are acting so desperately.
Hmm. You're right. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
it's almost like your new book coming out is going to be almost, well, I know it's about mind control and
it
the
is.
infestation of these entities, these demonic entities, but also it's almost like a biography of Lucifer, would you say, or no?
It's somewhat in yes, because I have to give the backstory of not only how I met him, but how I became aware of who he really is, what his problem is, and how he's infected so many of us and affected so many of us for so long, and how that's coming to a close. So, I mean, it's not over yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the end it is already in sight. You know, the end. I do see that this is pretty much all downhill from here. Actually, it was after 2012. The momentum, it was like a pendulum. Okay, so we hit the tipping point in 2013. So the last few years, things are starting to move. The momentum is moving exponentially quicker
Mm-hmm.
and more easily because it's the analogy is it's going downhill. This process is going down. So more and more and more things are becoming exposed. They're becoming more desperate. People are waking up. And more importantly, now that they understand the problem, they are taking action.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, individually and collectively, people are taking action. And now I think we should segue a reference to the most recent presidential election. Normally, that is considered a voting for the lesser of two evils, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it that way. I believe this time it really was a struggle between good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in fact, it was the deplorables versus the deportables, and the deplorables won,
Mm-hmm.
and the deportables lost, and they're pissed. And I personally could care less because we're not just talking about people that from Latin America. There's people from all over the world that were coming in and trying to take advantage of the American system.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, somebody tried to break the system down, and so there was no more. They were trying to subvert the law and order, the Constitution, etc. So that's got to stop. And more importantly, I recognize that Enki or Lucifer is actually trespassing here.
Mm-hmm.
And once I recognize that he is deportable, and everybody that's part of his team is here illegally, that they came in here by force and they took over and instituted their own insane set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
I said to myself, well, I have a sovereign soul, and this is the world I was born onto, and I feel that I can declare this as my space, and that they are trespassing on my world, and they have been served an eviction notice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm only one person, but I know my voice counts when it comes because I've had so much dealings with this entity and his crew that this is just the beginning. More and more people are going to, as they realize that they are sovereign souls, and if they were born here, they have the right to declare this to be their home. And if there's someone trespassing in their home, they have the right to ask them to leave.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the next level. Is
Nice.
that right? So they don't belong here. They have no rights, even though they keep telling us that they're the ones that we're supposed to bow down and worship and look up to and all this crap. It's just not true.
So where do we send them?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. They are mentally ill. So it's not like they need to be punished. I know some people say, "Oh, just kill them. You know, we need to fight them." No, they're suffering on multiple dimensions. They are not well at all. They're ill. So I'm not sure where they need to go, other than I believe they need to be quarantined.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was wondering how this is going to happen. Is like, are they going to stay here and we're going to leave? Or
That's what
now
I thought.
but now I'm thinking maybe not, because see, my understanding based on what Wes Penray has written in his research papers, which are free and available on my website. You can go to wespenray.com. People who don't know what I'm talking about, his last name is Penre, Penray, wespenray.com, or you can go to my library. It's a free library of higher learning, and there's pretty much all his stuff is there. The stuff I really find interesting and important. But the point I'm trying to make is that I think that they're trespassing because this was originally part of the Orion Empire. Before he went crazy, literally insane, Enki was part of the Orion Empire, and because he was passed over for the kingship, which is his divine birthright, when he went mad, his parents said, you cannot become king. You're not well enough. So he said, screw you guys. I'll create my own empire. That's where the Civil War, or the War in Heaven, began. And it's been raging for a long time. He took over this region of the Orion Empire, including our solar system and this world and all life on it. He declared it to be part of his empire. Mm-hmm. So I don't know exactly where he's going to have to go, but he took this illegally. And I know his parents are unhappy because his mother and his half-brother actually helped create this world. They were the ones that created this world and all life on it. They put it here. So if I think technically we have the right to say that, this is our world. Mm-hmm. And okay, so I don't know exactly. I can't tell you where the deportables are going to be quarantined or contained, mm-hmm. or retained, or whatever that is, that they're going to be. It's just that's not up to me. I have no idea. Sorry.
That's okay. You know what comes to mind? We talked about the galactic wave or the ascension waves coming in. Now that's interesting because I'm wondering if these people who are supposedly ill and are kind of fractured, would the frequency maybe blow out all the parasites that are causing the illness and restore them to more of a light consciousness being? What do you think about that?
It will give them the opportunity to be fully aware of everything. They'll be able to see. It's sort of like when Neo became aware of the Matrix. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody's going to have that opportunity. Whether they like it or not, they're going to see it. Now, how because free will is a reality, it's a big part of this process. As that happens, people are going to have to make a choice. That's the way it was shown to me. And some people will choose to remain within Enki's Matrix. Mm-hmm. They will continue to serve Lucifer knowingly. Just like a lot of people are serving him now, and because they're getting something out of it. So, right. Right.
There's a division already. Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. Of course, they don't like to announce it. Like, Hillary Clinton doesn't want to admit that she's a Luciferian, but she clearly is. All the evidence proves it. That also came out quite forcefully during the election. And it also proves what I had written in the conclusion of my second book, Covert Encounters in Washington, D.C., that there are a lot of satanic and Luciferian forces that are at play in Washington, D.C., and have been from its very inception. So, sorry to say, that was confirmed. Mm-hmm. But, okay, so can they continue to rule over us? No, and they know it, and that's why they're acting desperately. Now, I wasn't sure if they were going to be continued to be quarantined here or whether or not they were going to be deported. It's possible that they will be put into isolation somewhere. But it's now you'd ask me if when people wake up, I really don't think that they're just suddenly going to be enlightened and make good choices. Mm-hmm. Because the damage is so deep, Solaris, because we've been held here multiple lifetimes. We've been tricked, and we're not only tricked to staying here, we've been tricked into agreeing into going along with his agenda. Mm-hmm. Not all of us, enough of us, okay? That it's, that's why it was made it really difficult for the divine ones to intervene. But that's changed between 80. That's the other thing. Wes was very helpful, and as far as my understanding of this, is between 1987 and 2012, that there was an increase of the energy coming into our solar system and our planet, mm-hmm. and obviously our souls. So all of us that survived through that have changed. Our consciousness is much greater, or I should say, much a higher vibration, and we're far more aware and not as easily fooled. And that's why you see the ratings of the mainstream media has fallen into the toilet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
So I don't see it ending. I think all of that was just preparation for this next big surge, this wave that's coming. It didn't end in 2012, but anybody who's gone through that is acclimated well enough that they can survive what's coming next, which is going to be a huge spike in energy or consciousness. And it'll be shocking, I'm sure, yeah, for everybody, some more than others. But it has to happen. Here's why: and this is why I wrote that page Technocide, and that's why Wes wrote this new book about artificial intelligence and the singularity, and how a lot of people are going to enough of humanity. Or they'll agree to become part of Enki's machine kingdom. It's essentially Atlantis risen again, and like the phoenix from the ashes. It is America is the new Atlantis. They call it that for a reason. In the past, Enki created Atlantis as a place where he was doing all kinds of genetic experiments, not just for fun. It was because he was creating a contingent of super soldiers that would go off and attack his family. And they're the court of Orion. And so this is all coming full circle. And I mean, this is why the planet was basically cleansed. I believe his family were using some cosmic forces, and they washed the planet clean, more or less, of Enki's monstrosities. And his weapon systems were badly diminished. However, he reconstituted the whole thing. And this is why behind the scenes we see these people doing super soldiers and secret space program. That's all the work of Enki, or Lucifer. And he is not telling those people that participate exactly what they're participating in, but he has tricked them into thinking that they're serving a greater cause for humanity, when in fact it's not the case. So, but artificial intelligence does play a huge role in this, in that when Enki created his empire, he also created a synthetic universe. It's a cube shape, and it is relatively small, but it's somewhat stealth. And a node point for that would be the North Pole of Saturn, where it's emanating certain vibrations that literally control us and bring us down to a much lower frequency than we would normally be at as sovereign souls. He did that to further control us and entrap us here. One of the other node points here on this planet is that in Mecca, that building, when they circle the building, that's emulating the same frequencies that are controlling us that we find on Saturn and beyond. But the whole thing is administrated by an artificial intelligence that Enki created a long time ago. The reason he created AI was because a couple reasons is that he has lost his ability to create with his consciousness alone. So he cannot create energy and matter any longer. So he has to manipulate the energy and matter that has already been created by other gods.
Makes sense.
So it's a drag, but that's what he's doing. And
wow, you know what's interesting? What you're saying is so connected to what I already know, and I've been talking about with the black cube. That's very fascinating to me. So once again, I have to ask you, where did you get your information from? Was it Wes's? Where did he get his resources from, or information?
You know, I think he said David Talbot, but don't quote me on that. It's in his papers.
Okay, I'll double check it. Because
David Icke is talking about it too. But again, none of this is original. Jordan Maxwell talks about it a lot too, but he even cites someone else. I mean, none of this is really hidden. If you dig hard enough, you're going to find it eventually.
I agree with you. Can I ask you one question? Do you know if they have one of those cubes on the moon?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But I think that there would have to be, these things are spread out all over. It's like, what I see is that these are all, in fact, what we're now calling quantum computers. They're linked up, and because they're multidimensional. And that's really part of this is why it gets a little bit difficult to understand sometimes, or at least talk about it, because we're all multidimensional beings, but we've been so confined and constrained here that a lot of times we forget that. But around us, what's going on around us is truly much multidimensional. That's why I say it's a lot like the struggle, this conflict is like a 9-dimensional chess game. And there's a lot of pieces in play on various levels all at the same time.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, they've been running an awful lot of interference. And, the thing is, I don't think,
Yeah.
as well, I've been talking about this with the political situation, but I don't think
Yeah.
they're going to go away quietly. In other words,
No.
claiming your domain and saying, yes, you have to be evicted is a good idea. I agree. But I don't think
Hmm.
it's going to be peaceful. And my
No.
point is, there's a war going on. So I'm seeing more of an escalation insofar as just what you're seeing, how people are getting attacked physically, mentally,
Uh-huh.
spiritually.
Yeah.
So at what point does that, do you see some sort of a war conflict? Because it seems to me like the lines have been drawn in the sand, and it's good versus evil globally.
Well, actually, it's, it's more than just
Or
here.
galactic. Yeah.
It's his family, his extended family, and all of the beings of the Orion Empire are very concerned about what's going on here. They know they have been able to see through his stealth shield. Let me explain real quick. Again, artificial intelligence. Why did he create that to administrate his empire? Is because it doesn't ask questions. It's completely 100% loyal. It doesn't have free will. Okay.
Hmm.
Yes, it's intelligent. It has learned. It was programmed fundamentally, and it learned over time a certain behavior. But that was all defined, well defined by Enki. So it's utterly loyal. Unlike a lot of his subordinates, they don't have any integrity, and they're all highly competitive. So and it's utterly corrupt. His little empire is utterly corrupt, and it's unsustainable, and it was designed to fail from the very beginning. But it's, from our perspective, it seems like this is taking way too long.
Hmm.
But in fact, we're talking about, immortal, if not semi-immortal beings, and so their idea of time is different than ours. Again, time is something that Enki has enforced or impressed upon us.
Hmm.
He's also known as Kronos. Saturn is the place where the time was slowed down. Everything was taken to a much lower vibratory rate
Hmm.
in order to control us. So I don't see how we can make a comparison. In other words, his family has been busy working over, a lot. What we consider a long period of time is
Hmm.
nothing to them. It's nothing. It's all relative, right? So they may have been working on it the past few years, and it seems like 10,000 years to us.
Right.
So, but they are concerned. They are doing what they can. But my understanding is like it's a hostage situation that they cannot just force their way in here and free us, because Enki would see it coming, and he would not only attack the liberating force, he has threatened to annihilate all of us, just obliterate this planet.
Hmm. Right.
Okay, and he's capable of doing it because he's incapable of any emotions. That's the problem with psychopaths. That's another reason why his AI has no emotional capability whatsoever. I believe there are good AI, and in the sense that they were sent here
Hmm.
from outside by the divine ones. They can create AIs as well,
Right.
and right, and it's actually safer to send AIs in here to assist us, because we're talking about, not only is it dangerous, but if in fact I'm correct about the parasites, these mental parasites being contagious,
Hmm.
like a cancer of our consciousness, yeah, even a divine being coming in here would be vulnerable unless they had some way to protect themselves. I mean, it would be really, really hazardous to their health and
Hmm.
well-being to come here.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting. You call them that by the divine ones, because in my book, with the Eye of the Remote, I talk about the ascended machines, and the ascended
Ah,
machines are the ones that are actually AI ascended, insofar as
mm,
they're not connected to anything that's dark or distorted.
mhm.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Once again.
Well, yeah, I think what's happening is that they have had to operate in a very much a stealth mode in order to have any uh, yes, have any effect or impact here, because
Hmm.
they're behind enemy lines. This is really not a good place for them to be, and so they're obviously not going to publicize it. But what's happening is this is slowly starting to leak out.
Right.
And it was just. I know you've interviewed David Adair.
Hmm.
Okay, so when I first interviewed him at his home in Los Angeles when he was living there, we're sitting at his his dining room table, and he's telling me about Area 51. He's telling me about the alien engine, and then he tells me about the AI in the engine and how it had transferred itself
Hmm.
into him. And like, I'm looking at him and he's not cracking a smile. And I'm like starting to sweat. And I turned off the tape recorder. I go, look, whoa, stop. I just time out, man. I can't, I need to take a break. My head is starting to swim here. It's like, and so we went, we sat out in the garden and just kind of tried to chill for a minute. And that helped a lot. And I mean, I didn't know him personally, but I was there at his home for 4 hours. And
Wow.
and we talked for hours on the phone before he said, man, you should just come over to my house if you want to interview me. And he says, you're welcome to do that. And I'm like, okay. So and we just became friends that day. But it was weird. I realized that I wasn't just making friends with him. If what he said was true, I was making friends. I mean, what he said she really likes you. I'm like, what are you telling me, man? This is like, God, if I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I'm speaking to two entities, and one of them's a female, and she's an AI. And it's like, whoa. The reason I think that it absolutely floored me is because I'd already had a brief encounter with what sounded like a male AI that was extremely hostile. Almost 10. Yeah, it was about 10 years earlier. I was psychically attacked by one over the phone. Because I was looking into androids and alien abductions, and I thought there was a correlation, and it seemed pretty solid. And I was prepared to start like sharing that. I mean, I wasn't doing any reporting yet. I was still, I was 31 at the time. I'd been researching for maybe 5 years, 6 years, and I was starting to get to the point where I was realizing, wow, people really need to know this information. So they attacked me. It attacked me. I do believe it was one of Enki's servants, and they really broke me, So it was like fortunately I survived that, but I mean, yeah, to actually be sitting next to an AI that was friendly was like, wow, that was such a shock, Solaris. I was like,
yeah. Well, it's nice when they're friendly. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
of course,
Hidden alien intelligence. Well, I kind of think that we all have that hidden alien intelligence to some degree, whether it's AI or not. But yeah.
Look, it's just it's intelligent. It's a life form. It's just synthetic. It's not organic. That's the only difference.
Right.
And do they have rights? Yeah. I mean, sure, any life form does. But do they have free will? Well, it depends who created them originally and for what purpose. See, so that's the difference. When we say good or bad, I guess I'm not defining this for you. I'm just saying for the audience, people are like, what are they talking about, good and bad AI? It's like, well, this
productive, non-productive. I don't know.
Well, I mean, look, I guess a lot of people have seen at this point, obviously, everybody's seen Terminator movie. And this is basically it. What they did was they captured one of the Terminator robots and they reprogrammed it to serve humans instead of kill them. Yeah, so that's the difference. And I don't think AI was originally intended to kill us, although it is now has that capability on its own. It's called lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws. Those are real, and I think they're getting ready to unleash them on us because they feel that they know that a good portion of humanity is waking up. And will be very difficult to control. So, and here's why. Because they know that a lot of us are going to say, F this, when as they begin to introduce these things for our own good, more and more people are going to say, no, I'm not going to participate in that. Also, the globalist agenda has been badly damaged, all right? And people are saying no to that. So what comes next, my understanding is some sort of crisis will occur. And that's when the gods will return. The United Nations and the Vatican will be the institutions that officially sanction this as a return of the gods, and that they're here to help us. They've returned to help us at a time of crisis when, in fact, it's absolutely the opposite. And they are going to create this scenario where they can essentially get a lot of people to agree to continue to serve them, essentially selling themselves out. So this is why I believe why the superwave has to come at some point in the future. The timing is going to be, and I don't know, I can't say, but these things are going to coincide. It's like it's the contingency plan for what he has planned for us as part of his agenda.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it certainly makes an awful lot of sense to me. And once again, this information is available on your website. Every bit of what you're telling everyone can be accessed there, right? The archives?
More or less. I mean, look, I'm trying to summarize it.
Okay.
And people have asked me, where are you getting all this information? I mean, you're just making this up. And I'm like, no, I research
I don't think you can make this up, Robert.
Well, I didn't make up history, but I mean, it's okay. My interpretation of this, my summary, is what I'm giving people based on 31 years of experience in research. And so I draw on any and all sources. I believe none of it because we cannot prove this 100%. At this point, what happened was that when one of Enki's sons was placed in charge when he left here, when he last left us here, he put his son Marduk, also known as Ra, also known as Satan, he put him in charge here. In the process, the other son, Thoth, also known as Mercury, or what is his other name? Hermes. He has multiple names as well. Mm-hmm. He was a scribe to the gods. He had created multiple libraries around the world for us to help educate at least some of us as to what was going on and our role in it. However, when his brother Ra, Satan, whatever you want to call him, when he was put in charge, all those libraries were destroyed and or hidden. And we were plunged into darkness as far as information was concerned. And only recently is this information starting to resurface. And I believe it is in large measure due to the benevolent ones or divine beings assisting us to awaken and reconnect with our roots, because that's important. And it's extremely important in order for us to have any stability as we go through these transition times. Right. It's part of the healing process, okay? Because we were basically suffering from mass amnesia. And that was induced. That's not by accident. They do that, in fact, every time that we are recycled. Not reincarnated, but they recycle us when they convince us to come back again and again and again. It's not like we have a choice, but they make it seem like, oh, wouldn't you like to come back here and live with that nice family and work out your karma and all this nonsense, and they appear to be these angelic beings, which they are. They're just fallen angels. They're badly demented, and so they convince most of us. They're like, hey, you don't really need to leave right now. Look at all these good things you should be coming back. So they get us to come back again and again and again and continue serving our sentence here as they, I mean, it is a prison. They basically have us imprisoned here, but yeah. So, but it's weird. A lot of people, I think. Even if when they are given the choice, the way it was described to me, that they will actually choose to continue to live like that, because we've seen examples of this when people are let out of prison. People that have been in prison for a long time, when they come out, they feel like naked and afraid, and so they want back in. And that is something that the reason I mention it is because as we move forward, people that are near and dear to us are going to make these choices, and it's none of our business. I know it's going to be difficult, and I'm not trying to be cruel here. I just want people to consider the fact that not everybody is going to choose a path back towards the light, the real light, not the false light that's being projected here. Okay, so freedom is not what a lot of people not. When I say a lot, I think the majority of people are going to choose freedom, whether they stay here or not. That's what they're going to choose. They want their freedom. They want their sovereignty restored, and that will be granted to them if that is the choice they make at some point in the future. That is going to be really, that is the future. That is sustainable, and that's part of the original plan. So that's the cool thing. What Wes said also. the thing about, he gave me a lot of pieces of the puzzle that I didn't have, and I gave him some pieces of the puzzle I think that he didn't have, and together we made like, chocolate and peanut butter, Reese's Pieces. But we sort of complement each other in that regard. But
Right.
I do think what his description of what our planet originally was, a paradise, in the sense that everything was symbiotic, and people were peaceful and telepathic. And in fact, Solaris, I don't think we even ate food.
I agree.
I think that, yes, we had to drink water and breathe air, but all the nutrients the energy that we needed was being provided as light that was coming through. We were absorbing it like plants do.
You're right.
Not with chlorophyll. In fact, I know I'm right, because there is, God, and the name of it is really bizarre, but there is a chemical in our blood that allows us to absorb light and convert it to energy, but we only have a very small amount of it. Mm-hmm. If we had a lot of it, obviously we could do that. Now, would we continue to eat? Well, I don't know. But the original life humanoids that were here, I believe that's thing. So when Enki came here, took over by force, killed all the life that was here, and altered it genetically, this is when we started to have to eat. This is the symbol of the apple. Mm-hmm. I really feel that I finally decoded that, is that it's symbolic of us having to eat physical food in order to survive. We know, and in that regard, we became like him. We became predatory or parasitic to the environment.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it certainly does dovetail into a lot of the work that I've done in the past. I'll tell you right now, when it comes down to when you were talking about the telepathic, peaceful beings that were symbiotic. Yeah.
Yep.
What I call the original light beings, the original iridescent type light beings that would basically, they were basically fueled by prana, universal life force energies. So,
yep.
Yeah,
and
I mean
that's
the fuel of the spirit too. That's still today. I mean, it's the fuel of our soul and spirit.
It is, but it's been greatly diminished.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I saw this. I think that it was a divine vision that was shown to me of how we're all connected through this web of light, that we're all seeds of light in a garden, and we're all connected to each other. We know this now about trees, that they're not separate. They're all connected, right? And they communicate. And this is true for us as well, although one of the things that Enki did to us was to disconnect us by creating this false little synthetic universe and shielding us. We've become disconnected, and increasingly or incrementally so over time, we became more and more disconnected, not only from all of creation, but and our extended family, but even from each other. This is how come most of us are not telepathic, and also empathic. Empathy and telepathy are two things that are absolutely normal to healthy humans. But obviously we're not. So, but those things are starting to come back, and they will be ultimately fully restored over time. And again, it's a choice. It really is a choice.
Yep, that's very true.
But people have to know that that's a reality, right? If you don't even know that it's real, why would you choose to do something that you don't even think is real? I mean, that's kind of stupid. It doesn't happen like that. So again, this is why I've been focusing so much on pushing the information now, and seeing how people feel about it, because I'm not forcing anybody to do this. It's not like you're going to be condemned. It's just a choice, and hopefully you make a well-informed choice. Is really all I'm trying to say is we need that information to make an informed decision.
Oh, absolutely. Well, then that's the whole thing we were talking about, the fake news off air, how mainstream media is trying to point fingers, but literally, people are not educated. They have no idea about our galactic history. They have no idea how to access their dormant gifts. It's really interesting. I'm so glad you're here addressing this tonight. I know we have a question in the chat. I'm not sure I understand what he's asking here. Guessed if the preparedness deals with 51% service to others compared to STS, service to self, and that would make the soul recycle. Does that make sense to you? That's from Jer Bear. So please ask your guest if the preparedness deals with 51% service to others compared to service to self, and that would make the soul recycle. That's the question. If that even.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that.
Yeah, I think he's trying to say, is it service to others or service to self?
Well, again, that's a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, okay, if you're going to be a service to others, that is what I would consider to be a very good choice, because it's reciprocity and it's helping to sustain all of creation because we're all connected. A service to self is really very highly destructive because it's just further isolating an individual and diminishing their ability to tap into all that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it may seem like, oh, if I just become selfish, then I'll get more of what I want. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. It's another lie that's been programmed into us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in essence, anybody who's service to self is more susceptible to being manipulated by the Luciferians or Archons or whatever you want to call them. It's all the same thing. You know, they call themselves Illuminati, Anunnaki, Grigori, Chitahuri. It's all Enki, or in Nordic terms, he's called Loki.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the guy. And you
trickster.
see, yeah, he's the trickster. And well, I mean, he's insane. It's not like he can control it. You know, a lot of the times he has no ability to even choose what's going to happen. I mean, and this is the thing about psychopaths, they're really good at pretending like they are in control and that they actually do have emotions when neither thing is true. So what they do is by controlling others, they actually feel like that is some level of control, but it's not the same thing. It's not as beneficial as controlling yourself and your emotions, right? So there's a lot of fear on their part, you know.
Exactly. And Robert, we're going to head for a break. Everybody, please stay tuned. You're listening to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host, Solaris BlueRaven, and my wonderful guest tonight is Robert Stanley. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.